What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hold Your Ground, the podcast where you get working class culture without all the bullshit. We have a cool episode in store for you today. We've got a guest, Eric Molina from the band Los Mal Hablados. We have Fuck the World with Copy once again. It's going to be a fucking dope show. There's all sorts of wild shit that's going on in the world. So with that, I'll give it to Copy for Fuck the World. You're on fucking mute, homeboy.
There we go. I'm kind of silly.
Fuck the microphone.
Yeah, I'm kind of stupid sometimes. I got hit in the head a little bit. So this is Fuck the World with Copy. How's it going? I'm Copy. Surprise. Listen up. I am so fucking done with these brain dead, smooth brain fucking idiots who don't understand how the first goddamn amendment works. The Constitution says that the fucking government can't throw your ass into jail for running your fucking mouth, apparently, and spewing whatever feeding full bullshit you want to fucking spit. However, you have the legal right to stand on that and be on the public fucking sidewalk and be a complete miserable piece of shit. But here's the reality check that every single one of these fucking cowards, now, and I'm not just talking about the right, I'm also talking about the left, independents. I don't give a fuck when it comes to this piece in particular. But here's the reality check that you fucking cowards choose to ignore. Freedom of fucking speech is not freedom from fucking consequences. The U.S. government may not lock your ass up for being a racist fucking prick, but the Constitution doesn't give you a magical fucking force field against the goddamn real world. It doesn't mean anyone has to respect your stupid shit. It doesn't mean anyone can't call you out for being a human pile of shit. And it sure as fuck doesn't mean you can run around harassing people without catching the fallout. You're free to say whatever the fucking dumb shit you ever fucking want. But but you are sure as shit not free from the fucking fallout of the people you decide to fuck with. I don't give a single goddamn flying fuck if you shove someone, if you knock their camera out of their hand, you fucking knock their phone out of their hand, you lay your fucking hands on somebody, fuck you. The second you do that, they have every legal, moral, and goddamn human right to defend themselves. Period. Fucking period. It's that fucking simple. You don't get to invade somebody's personal space, breaking their fucking goddamn gear, or put your filthy fucking hands on them. And then cry like a fucking bitch when they defend themselves. Shocker. You made the fucking choice to make it physical. You're the one that escalated it. Whatever fucking happens to you after that, that's entirely on your dumb ass. This goes across the fucking board, like I said. Liberal, Republican, I don't give a shit. Keep your fucking hands to yourself. The sheer fucking unhinged hypocrisy on the streets right now makes me want to fucking vomit. We got these fucking clowns wrapping themselves in the American flag, beating their chest about freedom and liberty, screaming at the top of their lungs about how much they love the fucking Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all of that shit. But the second anybody fucking disagrees with that standpoint, it is the end of the fucking world. They lose their goddamn fucking minds. The second I'm going to speak just generally on my side of things, not anybody else's, not speaking for anybody else. But the second I've been part of an organized group and that we hit the fucking pavement and escalate the protest game, and I'm not saying being violent, I'm not calling for violence or any of that kind of stupid shit. People lose their fucking goddamn mind. They get aggressive. They try to snatch the cameras. They physically bully people, and they act like us using our fucking rights somehow isn't a personal attack on them. And that just doesn't fucking compute with me. And I'm a simple person, but I don't know. And you don't even give the other part of this is don't get me started on the badge wearing fucking thugs that decide to say they're protecting and serving, because I remember, and fucking Luis remembers the 2020 protest with George Floyd in Portland. So I looked it up a little bit. So I'm not just throwing blind fucking numbers. These are actual statistics from the Portland Police Bureau. The Portland Police Bureau, the Oregon State Police, and the Multnomah County Sheriffs formed a unified wall of state violence against everybody standing in the street. The Portland Police Bureau alone logged over 6,000, and that's what they're reporting. We all know it's fucking more because the ones that were there, we were fucking there. They used lethal or non-lethal rounds, the impact rounds that are supposed to be skipped off the ground or like hit in center mass type of areas. They're shooting them directly at people's fucking heads. Like anybody that was there, you can see that. The Department of Justice even had to fucking step in and put a leash on those fucking animals, even though, yeah, right, that's when they brought in DHS. That's the fucking system in action. Every time, everyday people demand accountability, exercise their constitutional rights, the state, the cops, and right wing agitators coordinate the escalation of force and they try to crush it. They use chemical weapons on you, and then they turn around and cry if a fucking phone camera gets pulled. We have all seen that every day. You can watch YouTube videos, and it doesn't matter if it's about protesting or politics. Cops lose their fucking mind or back the fuck off once that camera comes out. It's pretty fucking brave of them, right? So I'm almost done. Sorry, this one's a little bit longer than my normal one. So the last things here is what these brainless hypocrites and state-sanctioned bullies refuse to get through their fucking skulls is that when we march, when we hold up the signs, and when we scream until our fucking throats bleed, we are standing on the same goddamn constitutional bedrock as anyone else. We don't need your fucking permission, and we sure as fuck don't give a fuck about your approval. So if you're out there on the street and you don't fucking like it, and you're on the other side, or you see somebody signs that you don't agree with, you do have the right to protest again. Consequences, however, there's freedom of that. You can't get away from that. So run your mouth all day long. Constitution says you can be a fucking stupid asshole all the fuck you want. But again, don't understand that actions have consequences. Speech has consequences. If you put your fucking hands on somebody, mess with their gear, or try to brutally intimidate them, you better be ready for them to step up and defend themselves. To every single racist, every fucking homophobe, every power tripping cop, and every spineless, bigoted piece of shit hiding behind a badge or a flag while trying to strip away other people's humanity, you're not fucking patriots. You're fucking weak, miserable fucking cowards, and nobody is afraid of your bullshit anymore. This is Copy. This is Fuck the World. Go fuck yourselves. Out.
Word. That's beautiful. Thank you for those words, Copy. Normally, what we would do about this time is the three of us would talk as a roundtable discussion. Look at that. I'm getting smarter. Topic, but we're going to bring in our guests for this. Okay, we're making special allowances, and boys and girls, cousins, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, we're about to make history right now. Do you know why? This is the first Chicano guest that we've had on our show in the history of the Hold Your Ground podcast. That's right. This is first. So let me introduce musician extraordinaire. Holy shit, that was brilliant of me. Musician extraordinaire, a good friend of most of us, all of us, all right? And just a great all-around guy, Eric Molina. Hey, Eric.
What's up, guys?
Welcome.
What's up?
How you doing?
Good, man. What's up? Thanks for having me on the pod today.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks.
for coming, bruv.
Well,
Yeah.
I figured that we'd get you in on this conversation because if I remember correctly, you have a bit of a history knowing what it's like to deal with fascist police officers.
Yeah,
Oh.
and when Copy was talking, I just couldn't help but just think like, man, I got to see a lot of this face first, you know.
Yeah, it's
And
a problem no matter where you go, honestly. And in small towns, as I'm finding out, it's really, really bad.
yeah,
Well,
and it's not just the small towns. Like
Yeah.
Tri-Cities, Washington is not a small town, and there's a lot of really wealthy and educated people there. But the reason that they're wealthy is Lockheed Martin is there.
Right?
The Hanford site is there. There's a couple of things there that make people, you know what I mean, think a certain way. So
yeah,
I grew
absolutely.
up around that. So it's really interesting.
Well, let's get into it. Do you want to give us a background of your story with the incident and talk about it, and then we can bounce off from there?
Yeah. Uh, the the incident. It honestly it took me some time to stop talking about it because like thinking about it was honestly freaking me out still, and it took me some time to actually like heal through this process. So like doing something about it isn't easy, and the reason I didn't fully take my lawsuit to trial was mainly because of my health, my finances, and just my mental health, man. Like I would have still been in court, and if I would have lost, I would have paid, and I would have been millions of dollars into debt. But that's how they know that they are basically bulletproof, is they take money and put it in a slush fund so that when these police officers get caught, not when they mess up, because they mess up all the time, they don't get caught very often. But when they get caught with good evidence and you can't deny it, they just give you some taxpayer money back. And knowing damn well that if you actually went through court like you have to when you get pulled over for anything, that they will drag it on, they'll do things to you and your family, and if you for some reason lose, you're on the hook for all of the money. And who's willing to ruin their entire life to be right? Not a lot of people. But the people that do have the money are the ones willing to gamble that because they can afford to. But that's how the system kind of keeps people, in their place, so to speak, And my experience with that was firsthand. Like I'm a saxophonist. I've always loved playing my instrument. I uh, I was a band kid in school. I always wanted to be on stages. I love going to. I used to drive from Tri Cities all the way to go see shows at the Roseland, and I went like a couple months ago, and I went in there and I thought this place is not as big as I remember, because I remember when I was a junior in high school, it was this like arena. Like in my head, the Roseland Theater was this like, oh, but going back in there after playing venues that are much bigger than that, it really changed some things. But back to the story. I used to participate in the music on my own and just drive to Portland and back 4 hours each way by myself just to see a band. And I didn't really know much about ska culture. I didn't know much about like reggae culture even. I started smoking weed right after high school and started digging into new music. But I always listened to Pink Floyd sober because it was good music, you
Right?
know. But and then that got me digging into more reggae. And then I was like, well, I play saxophone. I want to start playing. You know, fast forward to I started playing in some ska bands. Fast forward, I started playing in some ska bands with skinheads, and I realized I might not be a skinhead, but I fit in here because
Word.
the bare minimum is don't be a fucking shithead. Don't be a bonehead. And wow, it's not hard to pass the bare minimum. It's surprising that in 2026 we're walking around just like Hoppy said. There's people who really don't realize that the bare minimum is treating people with respect. Strangers maybe don't comment about their lives and let them live it over there. Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
I've never understood what everybody's fucking fixation, especially on the right, obviously, about what's going on in somebody else's bedroom or how they, as long as they're not diddling kids, and being a fucking absolute abhorrent piece of shit, why do you care? Like,
And
why?
in my travels, I have an answer to that. It's an American
Oh,
thing.
I would like to just point out that
Americans think they're very unique.
I would
Yeah.
like to point out that I think it's the end of the world because in our last two episodes, our two guests both quoted myself and Copy. So it must be the end of the world when we're
The end of
dropping
the world.
making sense.
I
Um,
don't know. Actually,
no,
now
no,
that you
But
point that out,
so like I want to say that, Eric, I'll push back on that a little bit, right? Like it's
Sure.
not a uniquely American fucking thing.
Oh no, the whole
I've
world
seen
has
this,
its issues.
yeah, all over. Like I
Yeah.
travel all over, you know what I mean? And honestly, like the only thing that I can come up with The only thing that makes sense to me is that you got a bunch of people who want to believe in their religion, but they secretly think that dicks taste like fucking whipped cream and strawberries, and they can't give it a try, and so it fucking makes them mad, and they're like, fuck everybody.
That's
Well,
I
there's
love
new
you,
words
Joe.
for that.
So
There's
so
new
beautiful.
vocabulary. Like just a couple months ago, I heard about what a lavender marriage was,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize what that was. I knew that it happened, but I didn't realize that there was a term for it. And like,
Is that what we used to call a beard?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
no.
You might
A
wanna look it up,
lavender
Louise.
marriage. No, wait. A lavender marriage is when a gay guy marries a girl, but to pretend that they're in a normal couple, right?
I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so that sounds like
That
a
is what
beard
it
then.
is.
Yeah, that's what people called a beard back in the 50s.
Oh,
A beard.
Yeah,
Okay.
gotcha.
same thing.
See,
No,
not everybody's hip to the
Anyways.
ancient term.
Yeah,
sorry, not everybody's as old as I am. But
Okay,
yeah.
okay, Boomer. Back to the story, Eric.
But yeah, I got into music. I started playing in bands, and I started kind of liking the ethos of what it is being in a punk band and a ska band, and like not just any ska band, but like working with Mephistopheles, working with Andre, working with those guys who are New York skinheads, you know, from the '90s, who know what, you know, skinhead culture is, you know. It's just 2026, and now we have to show people a documentary. But that's a different conversation. But being around people like that, it just made me realize that, like, hey, there's some value here, and I want to participate in this musically and try to help and do my part in the community, and that's playing saxophone. COVID hits, and I lose all of my gigs. I cancel all of them. I think it was like over 80 gigs that I ended up canceling and dropping myself. And that's like low for a lot of people had. It's because people had been ramping up, and just we hit the brick wall, you know. Fast forward 2021, I'm doing delivery. I'm living with my folks in Tri-Cities. You know, they're older. It's good to stay close, help out. You know, I was pretty into gaming, so if they're like, "Hey, you have to quarantine," I was like, "Say less." you know, like for me, I was like, "Oh no!"
Worst thing
And
ever.
then I've put my headphones on and be like, "What's up, boys? Let's play some games," you know. But I drove past the house in September 2021, and it was the very beginning of what was happening in the U.S., where people were saying that COVID like wasn't real and all this stuff, and people started pushing back. And in Tri-Cities, it was pretty strong. Like people were, you know, you would see people just arguing in the grocery store everywhere you went, and it was just everywhere. You know, people would be like, you could walk out of the grocery store with a mask on and like still be pushing your cart and forget it on, and then someone will from a truck will yell at you and say some slurs because you have a fucking mask on and you just forgot. Like it became this energy that was very strange. And I drove by a house that was throwing like a fat, like raging party, like probably 100, 150 people in like a residential house, just in their yard, kids running around, just tons of people. September 2021, right? And whatever. I'm driving. At that point I didn't really care. I was just living with my two parents, myself, doing my delivery. That's as impersonal as it gets. I was doing my thing. And I drove by, and I distinctly remember some kids playing basketball. And like at that point, I was 28, 29. So I was like, I was that kid like not that long ago. Like, so I wait, they get on the sidewalk, make eye contact, cool, you drive by. That's the like unwritten contract between kids playing in the street and drivers, right? You're off the street, excuse me, okay, go ahead. Well, their parents didn't like that because 3 of those dudes were bikers and they got on their Harleys and ran me down. They drove about 2 miles until they got me to a roundabout. And by ran me down, I mean they were like speeding up in front of me. They were in oncoming traffic to the side of me. They were getting in front of me. They were trying to box me in. And I had to maneuver my way to not get like into a crash. And I just drove a Prius. So I didn't have any juice in my vehicle. And I'm going up against Harleys that are just powerful machines. I get to a intersection that has like raised sidewalks on both sides, and that's where they surrounded me and they stopped me completely. I immediately stopped and locked the door and immediately called 911 because I was like, these guys are about to like shoot me or something. You know, I want to at least get this call started, and I have no idea what's going to happen. And the dude starts smacking his rings because he had big ass rings, and he starts smacking them into my window. Luckily, the window didn't break, but he started fucking cussing me out and all this shit. And I immediately was on 911, and I started giving them extremely quick and detailed where I was and everything. I took a picture of his license plate, and I literally took the phone and I looked at him and I said, he's a white male, late 40s, beard. And I started describing his tattoos like to his face through the window. And that's when he got on his bike and they fucked off. Because I was just like, this is the only way. Like, I don't have a weapon, you know, I can't defend myself. And even if I did, there's 3 of them, and they all have patch jackets that say Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, and I can definitely see that they have stuff on their hip. Like, I can't really make out if it's like a gun or not, but like you could tell that they had either knives or something. So I was fucked. And when they drove off, the 911 was like, don't go home, because if they follow you home, you know, so I knew better than that. So I drove to the opposite side of Tri-Cities. I caught my breath. I stopped. I called back in. I said, hey, so like, did you guys talk to them or what? And they're like, yeah, we talked to them. I said, okay. Are you guys going to press charges? Like I said, they're like, you never said. I was like, yes, I did. I specifically said I wanted to press charges. And later this comes up in the police report where signed by an officer, he says that he went over there and informed them of the criminal aspect of their actions. So when you're a white good old boy, you get informed of the criminal actions that you did, but nothing bad will happen to you. So I went to the social media and I called out their biker club, which is Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Fuck you guys. Fuck you for covering up all the fucking bullshit in your fucking club. That being said, Stephen Cooper is a piece of shit, and he runs the West Richland Club. Fuck you again. I hope you like being the fucking fire marshal. I hope you like being the fire marshal at the Hanford site or Energy Northwest or wherever you work and having the cops protect you. Fuck you. Anyways, I didn't find out his name until later. So this started kind of unraveling. So the cops didn't really do anything. I called the prosecutor's office and they never heard of the case. So I was like, well, what do I do now? I went on social media, started calling out Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, and my phone started ringing. And I started picking up because they're random numbers. And one would be, hey, man, I'm the guy from this club. We don't do that kind of stuff. We're really sorry that happened to you. Like, if you give me your contact, you know, we can talk to you. We can help you figure out blah, blah, blah. And at first I was like, okay. And then another person called, and that guy said, I'm going to fucking find you and kill you. And I was like, oh. And then the next phone call was like, hey, we're really sorry. And then the next phone call, I know where you live. And so it just was this hot and cold of like dudes admitting that they're part of the club. So things started getting weird. And out of just desperation, it's COVID, I have nothing else going on. I'm pretty sick and tired of people like this. So I fucking emailed every news station in town. But every news station in Tri-Cities is ran by Sinclair. And if you're not aware, Sinclair is the Fox News umbrella. So they as shit weren't going to run my story.
So wait, now, at this point right now, Sinclair has a monopoly that's illegal to have in the Tri-Cities?
I think so. As far as, yeah.
Okay, because I know they own 2 stations here in Portland, right? And for those of you that aren't aware, Sinclair is a station that if you look up Sinclair news anchors all say the same thing. There are news anchors from all across the country literally saying the same script over and over, and it starts like with one square and then branches out to it fills up the whole screen. Yeah, they are fucking right-winged owned fuck faces,
Yeah,
and
so no one in
Sinclair Media can
Tri-Cities,
go fuck off too.
nobody in Tri-Cities got back to me. K-View in Yakima did. So I did, they interviewed me where it happened, this and that. I called them out and I said, the police refused to press charges after I wanted to press charges. They're lying. And the news called the officer and they have his quote saying, "Oh, we were just finishing the paperwork. Oh, no, everything's good." It's like, yeah, motherfuckers, I had to call you out on the news.
Maybe you mentioned this, and I'm sorry. Maybe I just don't space it off. But is this the West Richland Police Department, or is this the Richland Police Department?
West Richland.
Okay. Continue on. Just yeah.
Yeah.
Not that it matters. Not that it matters at all. For those of you that don't know the Tri-Cities, West Richland is next to the Tri-Cities, right? Like
yeah, it's just one of the areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I went on there, so now I was able to push the case to the prosecutor's office. That was the next step. When I found out that the police chief lived nearby was when a city councilwoman, shout out to Kate Moran for helping me out, for actually doing what you're supposed to do as an elected official. Go figure. She came over and talked to me because she had met my mom once or something. We talked about everything. She told me that, how sorry she was and this and that. She was very kind. On her way out, she goes, "Be careful. The house across the street is Police Chief Ben Majetic's house." So that was the first
across the street from where you live.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
Right across the street from where I live. So this was very interesting. So when I found that out, I started calling him out directly, being like, "This little bitch lives on my street." And I just went off even harder. When Copy was talking about free speech, there are limits. If I had posted his address, I would have been in jail and never met any of you guys. Because there's a fine line. And it's what you can prove, If he was able to pull up a bunch of posts from my social media saying that I hate cops, and then I'm over here posting his address, it probably wasn't going to go well. So I tried to be as careful as possible while still going hard and being like, fuck this guy. He finally agrees to a sit down because the councilwoman tried to talk to him, and we sit down, and he refused to do the conversation on recording. But I was able to have the city councilwoman there, which is why I feel very confident making these statements, because I have proof. Police Chief Ben Majetic told me that police officers do not have to tell anybody the truth. They can lie as much as they want because they're trained to get answers out of people. They're trained to make you self-incriminate. They're trained to make you give up your civil rights. That's in their training. When they say, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" That's them asking you to incriminate yourself immediately. So they're trained to do this shit. And I got him on record saying that they can say whatever they want, because I said, well, I wanted them to press charges and you guys didn't want to do it. So are you saying I'm lying, or are you lying? And he said, well, okay, yeah, we can do that out of for investigations. So I said, I was the person who called in the complaint. Why are you investigating me? I have proof that they did this. Chasing people down, no matter what your opinions are, and holding them in traffic against their will isn't legal. So we went back and forth. Nothing really happened. Fast forward to my meeting with the prosecutors. And they'd already emailed me, but they said it to my face. They said that they looked at the evidence, and they said that they had enough evidence to prosecute, but they declined to prosecute. They just choose not to. Because prosecutions are a political thing. The reason Donald Trump is in office and isn't being prosecuted is because it's a political thing. Because someone has to take the risk and take his ass to court, but nobody's got this fucking sack to do it. So, motherfucker does what he wants. Because prosecutions aren't just things that happen by default. You have to have someone willing to do it. And in this case, the prosecutor said, nah, we aren't going to do it. I find out from one of those phone calls from the biker club, he said, these guys kicked me out of the organization for calling out something similar. I want you to get his name. I'm going to start sending you pictures. And he helped me identify who it was. And that's how I found out it was Stephen Cooper. Stephen Cooper is the fire marshal at Energy Northwest. Energy Northwest is, I believe, is part of the nuclear plant and requires federal security clearance. So when you do something illegal, he was for sure driving drunk. With federal security clearance, nothing bad will happen to you because it's all good old boys club.
So for those of you that don't know, Hanford Nuclear Site is the facility where they created the plutonium bomb or the plutonium that went out at Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and as well as it's one of the only nuclear power plants that's really based on Chernobyl, right? So
They talk about it in Oppenheimer, the movie. They talk
Right.
about Hanford. That's Eastern Washington.
Like what Eric said is true. There's a lot of money out there because there is literally like something like 125 years worth of cleanup work to do out there. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why guys like this are running around the Tri-Cities with federal clearance. If people are like wondering, well, how does this have to take place? Also remember that the city of Richland itself is a decommissioned army base. Right, that's set up like and it looks like an army base, to me. But anyway, sorry about that, Eric. I just wanted to explain that part, why it's important that this guy has federal clearance and what that has to do with that area.
So when I was speaking to the prosecutors, they said they weren't going to prosecute this guy. And for context, right before the conversation, I said, I don't want to talk to you guys unless I can record it or unless I have a witness, which the councilwoman agreed to come be the witness. They said the councilwoman isn't coming. She doesn't want to be here with your behavior. And they started just making me feel like I was doing something wrong. I didn't trust them. So in front of the Benton County prosecutors, I looked them square in the eyes. I took my phone out and I called the councilwoman on speaker. And I said, hey, Kate, I'm here. Are you still going to come to the meeting? She says, what meeting? They called me and said it was canceled. So I said, cool. Well, they just looked me in the eyes and said that you didn't want to be around me. And I literally quoted everything right back to them. They're turning bright red. And I said, so Kate, can you please stay on this phone call because they're already lying to me. I don't trust my own safety. And can you please be on the call? And she agreed to stay on the call. At the end of the meeting with them, when they said the prosecutors aren't going to do anything, I said a few statements very specifically because you have to be very specific. I said, if the prosecutors, the police in this town aren't going to do anything about protecting me and my family, I have a Second Amendment right to defend myself if I need to. I specifically mentioned it like that. I didn't say I'm going to go get a gun. I'm not going to go harm someone. I specifically said I have a Second Amendment right to defend myself if I need to. Is there anything legally wrong with that statement? No.
No. They don't like that shit, though, dude. I had a cop here. I did the same thing, except I'm not as eloquent as you are. And
I was careful, bro.
So I was... Right, I had this shit going on with my business, and this dude who was all who worked for me, that was all fucking strung out on fucking dope, and he came down and like was just destroying shit. And somebody else called the cops because I don't call the fucking cops, you know what I mean? So the cops come down and they're like, oh, and they fucking take him away. This was also during COVID, and they didn't take him to jail because of COVID, so he came back down. The cops followed him back down. He does all this shit again. It was like 7 times in one day, right? And so the last time I asked him, I was like, you guys going to put this guy in jail for the night? Because he fucking destroyed my boat last night, and he's been down here a bunch today. And I'm not going to lose this fucking multi-million-dollar investment that I run to this fucking jackoff. So if he comes back down tonight in the night, I'm staying on this fucking boat. I'm just letting you know the next call you get is going to be for a fucking shooting. And they were like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, I'm just letting you know, man. I have every right to defend myself, really. And quite frankly, I have every right to defend this vessel because this doesn't even fall under your city's laws, right? This is federal. This is fucking maritime. I'm the captain of this ship. I have full authority to do whatever the fuck I need to do in this moment. So I'm just letting you know, like, you can't just kill somebody. I was like, homie, I'm a motherfucking retired combat infantry fire team leader. I didn't say anything about killing somebody. I said it's going to be for a shooting. And quite frankly, I have more experience shooting motherfuckers than your entire police force does. So take it as it is. And they did not like that.
Like Copy was talking about free speech. You got to figure out how to use synonyms, bro. You got to figure out how to, because there's exceptions, and if they take it as a threat right then and there, right, it happens right there. I'm just saying.
I'd like to point out right there too that that Eric has the last name Molina, right? That he does look Latin, right? So if you get a bunch of small town cops that think that what you're saying is I'm coming back and clack, motherfucker, right? If they think if you're brown or with that last name and they think you're saying that, you ain't making it out that fucking meeting, bro.
So
no, I get that.
What did that police officer say? Maybe my lawyer subpoenaed the email. Let's read that.
Let's fucking read that.
Yes.
Let's read that, shall we? Eric Molina was told today by prosecutors that charges were not being filed on a West Richmond PD case where he was an alleged victim of a threat, and it as the case number. I met with him early on in reference to him not being happy on how the case was handled by original officer. His complaint and concerns, he's got a bunch of weird slashes and a bunch of weird things in it because you could tell he's typing fast as shit, all angry. His complaint concerns were unfounded. While waiting for the prosecuting attorney's charging decision, he has been harassing the suspect in the case and has posted numerous negative material in reference to me. This is the police chief speaking. Ex-police chief Ben Majetic. Today, he threw a fit in the prosecutor's office, screamed, yelled profanities, and pounded the table when they were trying to explain their decision not to file. He almost had to be escorted from the courthouse. He almost had to be escorted out of the courthouse. While leaving, he mentioned he was going to buy a gun.
That word almost is so crazy because I have a list of Proud Boy applications, and in one of these applications, one of these fools almost hit a cop. Almost.
That's like the motherfuckers that come up to Joe and I know Joe's had to deal with it, that sit there and go, well, I almost joined the military, but, if a drill sergeant came up to me, I would fucking, no, the fuck you wouldn't. That drill sergeant would fuck you up.
So he said, I screamed, I yelled profanities, I pounded the table, and I said I was going to get a gun. Maybe, did I have a witness? Oh, yes, I did. Wow. Would that witness testify in court that that's fucking a lie? They didn't have to because they didn't even bother going there. Next paragraph. I'm usually not concerned about things such as this, but he unfortunately lives across the street from me. And with
goddamn Constitution that lets these fucking brown people move into our neighborhood. What the fuck,
and he knows where I live. That's in the sentence. And he knows where I live.
A Latino knows where I live. Fucking call ICE.
Well, straight up, this is wild-ass victimization, right?
This next line was my cover picture on my Facebook for, the next couple years. This next line. He hates cops. You can read his Facebook to see this, and is equivalent to the Antifa mentality.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's right here in writing, baby.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was just talking to Joe.
Antifa mentality, where are we at?
Hold on, let him finish. This shit's amazing.
Antifa mentality. It's backwards, but it's right there.
No, you're straight up.
I see it right there. Yeah, equivalent to the Antifa mentality. I love this because, right, after this point, you guys, we've already burned down Portland, right? It's a smoking rubble as far as...
They're
and so
concerned.
This is just This is like 3 hours east of us right here. So clearly
4.
the fear, 4. The fear has gotten there, right?
They're terrified of Portland and Tri-Cities. Anyways, he hates cops. You can read his Facebook to see this, and his equivalent to Antifa mentality. He has not attempted contact with me or my wife at the house yet,
Jesus.
but appears to be escalating in his poor behavior.
Miss Cleo. Miss
If
Cleo
he does
reading the
come to my
future.
home, I will have my wife call 911 and not answer the door. If I am at home, it will be handled in the same manner, since I do not want a physical confrontation.
Bullshit. You know that motherfucker come out there with a fucking gun and just shoot
Gun.
your ass.
He would have shot you fucking
Yeah.
without even asking a
The
question,
last,
bro.
last couple sentences. Also, please drive through, especially at night, since he has posted where I live to his Antifa type friends. Molina drives the red Prius in his parents' driveway. So let me
The Latinos come out at night. The Antifa comes out at night. The Antifa come out
check
at
it
night.
out right there. Also, please drive through, especially at night, since he has posted where I live to his Antifa type friends.
Well, you know, Eric, Antifas and Latinos are both fucking nocturnal groups of people, right? So that's when we scurry around, Antifa-ing and Chicanoing.
So I got slapped with. So let's just get to the next part. So that email, I don't know about this email until the court process starts.
Yeah.
Because of the subpoena. I'm just trying to give you guys the pieces in order, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
You're
he
good.
sent that email to his whole department. You can even see it says, like, up top, it says it says police staff. Literally everybody.
What was so wait, what's your reaction? Because of course, like you just said, you didn't know that about the existence of this letter till later on in the process, right? And like really, he's targeting you to his department. He's
the
essentially
day after I was at the prosecutor attorney's office, there was a cop car parked in front of my house for the next 3 weeks.
So what did that, like, when you got your hands on that, like through the subpoena process and you read that, how did that feel? What did that mean to you? What did it mean? Because, like, I mean, I would have been like, fuck, dude, I am not safe in my hometown by the people that are chosen to protect me.
Honestly, I told a lot of my friends, my family in town, some people who I don't call friends anymore because of this. I said, they're watching me. They're trying to do something to me. And they said, Eric, you're watching too much TV. This is in Portland. And I have it in writing that he's requesting drive-thrus at night. He's requesting surveillance.
Marking out your car, marking out the car that you were driving.
The worst part was being surrounded by people that didn't believe me.
Yeah.
Because the people who I trusted, I couldn't trust them anymore. Because they really thought I did something. What did I do, though? You must have done something, was the answer that everyone gave me.
And you can't go to Kennewick or Pasco to feel safe because, again, it's a very small community, the Tri-Cities, right? Like, I'm sure all the pigs know each other on a first-name basis there, right?
I would be willing to bet that some of them are CVMA fucking members themselves.
Yeah, honestly. I bet you there's a couple CVMA, like, January 6ers for sure. Like, it's that type of crowd. Anyways, a couple days after the prosecuting attorney's office, I am driving. I go out and get food. And I come back. And it's about 12:27. And I see the police chief's car parked in his driveway. And he usually parks in his garage. And I didn't think anything of it. But then I stop at my mailbox. And guess where my fucking mailbox is?
Next to his house.
It's in front of his house, dude. So I park my car in front of his house, and he comes out and he goes, "Hey, I know what you're doing," and I'm just like, "I'm getting my mail." Like, oh god, and he's like, "I know what you're doing. Don't fucking go anywhere." And I was like, "I'm getting my mail." And he's screaming at me.
Oh, because of the way you parked to get your mail, you blocked off his driveway, huh?
By a little bit. He's got one of those
Okay.
like double wide driveways, and he was arguing. That
Okay.
ended up being part of the conversation later. It
Okay.
was snowy, so there was like a bunch of ice, and like that became a whole petty like, well, the cop cars wouldn't park in the ice. Why'd you expect me to park in the ice?
Right.
Because you
Right.
can get
Right.
stuck in the ice, you know, and all that stuff. But that just became semantics in the court case. But
Okay.
he comes at me screaming, and I know my rights. I say, I'm just getting my mail. Is there something I can do for you? And he says, you fucking motherfucker, screaming at me. I know what you're doing. And I said, am I detained or am I free to go? And he says, you're not free to go, but you're not detained. And I know exactly what that means. That means I'm free to go until he says I'm detained. I can do what the fuck I want until you say I'm detained. And I said, all right, unless you specifically detain me, I'm going to drive home right now. And he says, don't go anywhere. You're detained. I said, great. In that moment, 3 squad cars just fucking blow in. And he turns his back. And something in my head said, Eric, you have to do something about this. So I used to wear flannels that have, you know, breast pockets. And I have this big ass phone. And I didn't have this white sticker on there. That's a flight thing. But I went on Facebook Live and put it in my pocket.
Oh yeah.
And it showed like this. And that's the trick. When you do this to a cop, they know you're filming. But if you do this to a cop, they didn't know. So they spoke freely in front of my live stream for a good 45 minutes until they got a call saying he's on Facebook live stream. Stop speaking in front of him. Because they started saying a bunch of shit. They said, we're going to get you for disorderly conduct. And they said, no, we're going to get you for false imprisonment, because they were saying that I was parked behind him, so I was holding him against his will. And then one was, what was it, that I was interfering with his duties. And then eventually what ended up getting slapped on me was a harassment charge. I got charged with harassment. So on camera they went through all these options, and they were like talking to each other about like, how do we fuck this guy up? And lucky for me, I am a saxophone player, band kid, video game nerd. They couldn't really fuck me up for anything. I knew my rights, which is why I said you have to detain me or else I'm walking. You know, and those were the key words that ended up being part of my defense later. And yeah, they said all these things. Like the Facebook live stream is still on my Facebook.
Hell yeah.
If you want to go look at it, it's there.
That's amazing, and I will be checking that out tonight.
I will be
after
watching
this.
it tonight, right?
I was going to say all
the
3
same
of us
thing,
are going to
yes.
fucking watch that in detail.
We're going
So-
right there.
When they go, what were you doing? I said, I went to go get food. They're like, can you prove it? I'm like, you know what? My food's getting cold. That's a good point. Can I eat my food right now? And they're like, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to reach into my car. Is that cool? They're like, yeah, whatever, do whatever you want. I'm like, I have to ask you because I'm detained. And you guys are going to hurt me if I don't ask you. And they're like, just being dicks. I'm like, all right, I'm going to grab it. It was just a fucking cheeseburger. And I start eating, and he starts asking me questions, and I start answering with my food in my mouth. I'm spitting out crumbs like, oh, I'm just being a fucking asshole. And then even I look down to my phone, and one of my buddies says, offer him a bite. So I did. I said, do you want some, dude? They taste like shit, but if you want some, we might be here a while. You can have some. They're pissed. Why? Because I learned what escalation and de-escalation tactics are, and I know that it goes both fucking ways. So they didn't like that I was sharing my food. 30 minutes later, they go, so what were you doing driving around? I was like, getting food. They're like, can you prove it? I was like, dude, I offered you a bite. That's the video. So if you want to catch that,
That's
he tries
amazing.
to catch me
I
up on the
cannot
story.
wait.
I'm like, dude, I offered you food, bro.
I mean, I appreciate the bravado, right? Like I love that shit. But internally,
I was fucking scared, bro.
thank you.
It
Yeah,
was just adrenaline, dude. I was angry. I was coursing with adrenaline. At the very end, he comes up. He's like, all right, we're going to charge you with this. I've already talked to the jail. He's putting his gloves on. And all I could think was, Eric, they're going to make you flinch. They're going to make you tense up. You're 6'1". You're 360 pounds. They're going to take anything you do as a threat. So, like, the second they touch you, hands up, knees, like, do whatever you need to do so they don't smash your skull into the pavement. That's
Word.
all I kept thinking. He put his gloves on. He goes, but it's your lucky day. The jail said that they don't have any more room, which the lawyer was like, that's hilarious. That's not a thing. It was just them trying to freak me out, which kind of did. But they gave me the thing and they said, oh, you can file a report later. You don't have to right now. And I had studied up and I've seen cases where people who file police reports after the incident, a couple days after, they claim that they were manipulated by somebody else to lie. So I knew that I had to sit right there, no matter how freaked out I was, and write a report. Mm-hmm. So I did. And I could tell they didn't want me to because of that. Because they can then be like, oh, his politics, his political beliefs. But no, it's happening right here, right now. Let's do this dance. So I did the whole thing. I was filming. I get to go home. This is about hour 40. The live stream is on my Facebook, and I'm proud of it. It's still there. If you want to get some popcorn.
Again, we all go on right after we're done recording. I can absolutely promise.
I'll give you guys the link.
The text will be flying all back and forth. Like,
oh,
you see that? Oh, my God, right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do send the link.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you a question. Clearly, we don't know the story that radicalized you, but what was your kind of attitude before all of this started, in regards to police, and everything? I'm just kind of curious, like, not like that you believed in the police, but, what was it? Was some kind of innocence destroyed here? What do you feel?
I would say so in a way.
What was taken from you? What do you feel was taken from you in this?
I grew up in the neighborhood with the police chief. My family was doing fine-ish, like we weren't fucked, but we were chilling.
So you guys knew each other. You guys would say hello to each other, not know what he did.
I walked around that block smoking joints, not knowing that bitch lived there. So I lived in a little bit of like La La Land of like, oh, I'm so cool. No, I was lucky as shit. That's what I was. I was lucky, and I lived in a nicer part of town, and I went to Hanford High School, like it wasn't like anything. I was in honors classes. I was a band kid. I wasn't even a saxophonist back originally. I was a bassoon player. I was like one of the nerdiest band kids there was. So like I was a marching band, jazz band, honor band, wind ensemble, solo ensemble, like private lessons kid. I wasn't really getting into issues. I started working at a McDonald's when I was 16. That's when I first started kind of seeing the real world. I'd be in the grill, be like, hey, what's up, man? What's your story? He's like, oh, I was in prison for meth for 25 years. Oh, we need 2 McChickens, no mayo. I'm like, oh, okay. At 16, I'm like, I'm learning about life right now. Learning from real people, from real experiences. What do people who are 3 times my age working my same job, what are their experiences like? So I was starting to kind of get a little, I wasn't that like innocent, but like, when it came to getting in trouble, like I'd always gotten pulled over they're like, you were speeding. I'm like, shit, like, yeah. Like when you get busted speeding, or you're like, hey, you ran a fucking stop sign. You're like, well, fuck, what are you gonna do? But that's like a couple bucks, whatever it is, and you move on with your life, and it's all cool. But like these guys, the harassment charges I was facing a year in jail, and among other like fines and other things.
I'd like to point out that word that you used, lucky, that's like a big bubble word to me, right? Because if they had wanted to, or you were in a different community, you could have had the same tragic happening to you that has happened to countless people of color throughout history. And just let me say that one Chicano to another Chicano, I am so happy you're here. And I'm so happy that like I'm horrified that we have to hear this story, but I'm happy that it has an ending with that you're still here and you're still free.
Yeah, and my mental health wasn't great because when that happened and there was a cop car parked in front of my house for a few weeks, like I wasn't feeling too confident.
Do you want to
And
speak on that? Do you want to speak on like what
yeah,
that
like
terror does to people not being believed by your friends that you know that you're being made into some weird Mel Gibson conspiratorial movie? Like you're that
yeah,
movie Conspiracy Theory. I don't know if you guys caught that little fucking thing that I threw out there, but that's what a throwback was. But yeah, what's
but it
that
was
feel
it
like?
was it was a harassment charge, but it was also a restraining order. The day after it happened, two police officers came up to my house and knocked on our door. My parents answered. They said, "Eric, someone's here for you." And I stand outside, and my parents come outside with me because they want to like be watching, and they give me the paperwork that's basically serving me with a restraining order. Right? They weren't the arresting officers or anything, so they were just doing their job. My mom is upset. She's crying. She's hysterical. She said, "Go, just go. Why would you do this?" And just like my mom's furious. What did the cops do? They said, "There's a disturbance and we can't leave a place until we resolve the disturbance." And they refused to get off of our fucking property. I screamed until my voice died. Like I screamed until my voice was shot. I said, "Get off my fucking property." Lights in the neighborhood were turning on. I said, "Get the fuck off my property." And they're like, "Nope, you're being disorderly." I'm like, "This is my fucking property. Go." And they finally agreed. Both my parents were crying. One second, please.
Yeah, take all the time you need. That is horrific. I am so sorry.
Yeah, they gave me the restraining order, and the restraining order was I couldn't go within 150 feet of the police chief's residence. My front driveway was 65 feet away. It was illegal for me to leave my home. The order did say that if I was in transit, as long as I could prove that that's what that was my intent, that I could be in transit. So in other words, they let me leave my house. And for the next temporary restraining orders for people who aren't or restraining orders in general, people who don't know, the process is you get slapped with a restraining order. Say me and Luis get in a fight and he wants a restraining order against me. It's going to be a minimum of 2 weeks, and then we have a hearing. We both go into the hearing and we both speak our piece, and the judge decides whether the temporary order is done. Me and him have shaken hands. We're good. Cool. Let's just rescind the order or make it permanent. You know, it's going to be an issue. So those are the two ways. You go to a hearing, it becomes permanent, or they dissolve the temporary. Those 2 weeks during COVID, because court dates were delayed, ended up being 2 months. And on 4/20/2021, in my bedroom, just like this, I went to Benton County Court on Zoom. I put a button-down shirt on, but I was in my underwear and no socks.
You know what?
My
I'm
bong was
believe it or
this
not,
close to the camera. Also,
I'm in this.
it was right here.
I'm in the same outfit that you were wearing at court right now. I just got chonchons on right now, bro. Like seriously, I just threw this shit on.
And I had a buddy in the room with me just to like witness and just to kind of be my just moral support. I didn't really want to put my parents through it. We went through it, and that was the hearing for the restraining order. But let's rewind a tiny bit. Since it was a police chief, the harassment charges got sent to Franklin County, which is Kennewick. And I have the paperwork for that. So the prosecutor dropped the charges, and I'll tell you why. Let me see. I haven't talked about this story in this length because it used to give me fucking anxiety attacks. And I had to get mental health help. And that ended up being part of the lawsuit. A lot of people talk about suing the cops, and people talk about how much money, but the money is damages. So I have to prove with a mental health specialist that they harm my mental health. So I had to go in to lawyer mandated therapy sessions and have the counselor tell me, Nobody's going to hear what we say. Tell me anything you want, knowing that that's not true. So 6 months of a counselor saying, just tell me anything, where I knew that if I said, hypothetically, if I wanted to throw a brick through his window, that would have come up in court. It would not have been covered by HIPAA laws because we are using it to claim damages. So that is a part about suing law enforcement that people don't talk about, is you have to prove the mental anguish. So basically you have to keep pounding it. And it's not fun. But
it must be horrible to have to keep reopening that wound.
Here is the statement from the prosecutor. I'll let me set it up so you guys can just read it.
Do you want to read it for us? It's a little bit too small for me to read. And most of our listeners are going to end up listening to this. And I don't have my glasses on.
I'm trying to make it like visible so I can read it. And there we go. Upon review of the complete file, the prosecutor has concluded that although the pattern of conduct engaged by the defendant, me, towards the alleged victim, which is the police chief, is concerning and did cause the alleged victim to fear for the safety of himself and his family, the charge of harassment based upon the incident that occurred on February cannot be proven beyond a reasonable doubt as there is lack of evidence of a direct threat being made to the alleged victim on a particular date. So if you pay attention, he's putting in writing that I made a police chief fear for his safety and his family's safety.
But that there was
while
no proof.
also saying that there was no proof of a threat. Make that fucking make sense.
You are Schrodinger's fucking terrorist, bro. Both violent and non-violent at the same time. You are an Antifa. Like
Welcome
you are,
to the
bro.
club.
Like, that's the definition. Look at Joe's dead over there with that one.
That's just crazy, right? It's in writing that I make a police chief and his family fear for their life and safety.
Yeah,
my lawyer said, "Bud, you're moving, dude." He said, "You gotta move." And I live in Portland now.
Okay, so that wrapped up. Because I want to get into what you're doing now really fast and everything. So how does all
almost
of this
wrapped up? There's still a little bit more.
That part wraps up. How does this end up resolving itself? And is your family support? I'm assuming they're super supportive at this time, but still, it's got to be taking a toll on them as well.
My family has been pretty involved in protests, like even before. My mom went to protest before 2020, you know. And if you look up my name in Tri-Cities, I ended up hosting a counter protest in my hometown because there was a guy parked in front of the mosque in our town with a giant sign with an arrow that said terrorists.
Jesus Christ.
And it was one guy, and it was in front of a bunch of baseball fields full of kids. So me and a bunch of college kids, like I think it was like 10 or 12 of us, we did a counter protest to be like, hey, no, you're welcome in this community. That guy doesn't speak for all of us. Fuck that. We got interviewed on the news. A guy who was like a head of like some Islamic community in Seattle messaged me and thanked me. And I was just like, for what, dude? For making sure that my town isn't ran through with fucking white supremacists? I've driven by that mosque my entire life. That's been there forever. Also, that guy ended up not even being from Tri-Cities. He ended up being like an hour out of Tri-Cities. He was coming in with the hate, and that's something that in Portland happens very often, right? You guys see these people from living in the woods. They're like, hey, let me tell the city people how I feel. It's like, dude, stay in the woods. Like, fuck you, bro.
I always loved when they would just come hang their sign and it would be down in like within fucking 5-10 minutes. But it's just mind blowing that you would waste that much time and money to print that shit out and then just fuck off.
Yeah. But the charges were dropped. I want to wrap up the whole thing real fast. The charges were dropped. I did the hearing 2 months later on 4/20, 2021. And I don't know if you guys have been in court, but it's usually opening statements from the defense and then the people who are prosecuting.
None of us have ever been in court. None of us know what that's like. All of us come from a pristine background where I have never, ever spoken to a cop ever, or a judge for that matter.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
But yeah, your guy says his piece, their guy says his piece. Your guy, no, it's the other way around. Their guy says his piece opening, and then my guy. So he does his opening, and he starts doing all this stuff, and then he's flustered. So he calls a witness during his opening statement, and the judge is like, "You can't call witnesses during your opening statement. Like, you have to say something and then let the other guy talk." And then he's like, "Well, okay, I don't have anything else." My lawyer unmuted, and he went, "Everything that my client said is covered under the First Amendment. Nothing further." And muted his mic again. That's all he said. And then the other cop, they spent an hour and a half just saying about how horrible I am and how much he felt afraid for his life and just kept fucking. Then it was my turn, and then my lawyer unmuted his mic again. He said, "Everything my client said is covered under the First Amendment." Muted his mic again. And then the judge ruled in my favor because you can't do that. They printed 40 plus pages of my Facebook posts, scrolling back to the beginning because I had remade a Facebook in 2014. They scrolled to the bottom of my Facebook, and I had a stack like this tall of my own Facebook posts, including memes that were like making fun of, like, they printed out all the anti-cop memes, anything political. They printed it all out to use as evidence, because in a harassment situation, this was the restraining order hearing, but harassment is a series of things. So I can't just tell you guys to go fuck yourselves and then that's harassment. But if I start telling you guys to go fuck yourselves every day and you can prove that I'm doing it every day, that's fucking harassment. It's a series of conduct and you have to prove it. So he tried to use the Facebook post as one series of conduct and then the mailbox incident as two different things. And he tried to use my Facebook posts against me. When he dropped that, it just became the mailbox incident. And did I have a legal reason to go there? Yes. I can prove that that's my mail. So back 2-1-0. The case dropped. The restraining order went away. The judge in his sentencing, and I've struggled to get this video. The judge started saying some really fucked up shit to me. He said, "If you're ever in my courtroom again, I'm not even going to listen to your lawyer. I'm going to sentence you to the maximum sentence possible." And he just started saying all these really out of pocket things of like, people like you, they only criticize police because they've only gotten in trouble, and the only reason they don't like police is because they're mad they got caught, and like started saying all these really fucked up things. And I've requested this video from Yakima many times, and I get the runaround. I've done it like dozens of times, and they won't give me the video. I think they deleted it, but they can't admit that they deleted it because of the freedom of information.
That would be illegal.
Yeah, so they won't admit it, but I have yet to ever see that again. Everything got dropped. Zoom call ends. My phone rings, and it's the lawyer. And he said, "Do you remember the first thing you said to me?" I said, "I want to sue these guys." He says, "Now's the time." Because the first bit of advice he says, like, we can't sue them until we defend you.
Right,
It's
until
like
it runs
football.
its course. Yeah.
They have the ball first. Now we have the ball. It's our turn. Now, talking about the hearing, the couple things that he did ask the police chief, what is it, the Fifth Amendment, is you can't incriminate yourself. Yeah, plead the Fifth, is you can't incriminate yourself, but there's fine writing in that amendment. It's when you are being looked at as the person who committed the crime. You have the right to not incriminate yourself. The police chief is under oath. Yeah. So he got lobbed a bunch of questions like, how long between you coming out of your house to him being detained was it? How much time elapsed? And we got him under oath saying less than 30 seconds. And then we got him admitting a bunch of different shit under oath, which ended up being used for the lawsuit. The lawsuit was filed, and it took about 2 years to make it all the way through, and they settled out of court for $25,000.
Woo! minus lawyer fees.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So the lawyers ended up taking about 13 of that, and I bought a car, and with the last couple thousand, I paid some bills, and I bought my saxophone case that's right behind me right here, and I've taken that all over the world. I bought my little tablet that I use to play in all my pro gigs, and that's all I could really do. So I invested in myself. That case has been my flight case since 2021. Um, I reinvested in myself because I knew that going on vacation was not going to do anything for me.
Yeah.
But that was the end of it. The first song that we wrote in Mal Hablados is called "Guilty Until Proven Innocent," and it is based on how police officers can give people settlements because a settlement requires a lack of admittance of guilt.
You
They
know
don't
what?
admit guilt, but
Now
they
that
pay you a bunch of money so that you drop it.
we've talked privately, and you've told me a little bit about the story, not so much in depth, right? We've talked about it, and you're like, that you started the band directly as from your experience, and now that I know the full experience, I love the name even that much more.
I was talking
Right.
shit. Hell yeah, I was.
Yeah. So for
I'm
those
proud
of you
it.
that don't know, it means like those that talk bad, those that speak poorly, right? Those that speak shit. The shit talkers. It's
But
fucking a great name.
it
Those that
also
speak poorly.
implies you say things that are not acceptable. Not necessarily that they're bad words or anything, but just unacceptable things. It's stuff that you don't want to talk at Thanksgiving with your family about. With I'm talking about like those types of topics, those political, religious conversations that you're not supposed to talk about. Fuck that. Let's talk about it.
So you know what? Let's talk about the band now. So you moved to Portland. You started the band. Tell us about Los Mal and what they're about, what you're about, and what do you guys got going on?
Yeah, Los Mal Hablados was founded in Portland 2022. I moved uh, to Portland 2021 in October. Like I said, the hearing was in April. Mephistopheles from New York City, I had met them and they called me and they said, "Hey, do you want to go on the road?" And they knew what I was going through personally. They said, "Hey, do you want to get out of the West Coast for a little bit?" I said, "Absolutely." They're like, "The shows are in September." I was like, "Cool, I'll be there August 1st." Literally went a month early because I said, "Fuck this shit. I'm out." And I went to New York and I started kind of jamming, gigging, kind of doing, start meeting people. Um, and I did my first shows with Mephistopheles. If you go on Spotify and look up Mephistopheles discography, you'll see a live from Supernova.
Mhm.
I didn't actually know they were recording that. That was my fourth show I've ever played with them, and it's vinyl and on all streaming.
That's awesome.
No pressure. So that really changed my outlook on like, this isn't just a gig. This is a gig that could end up on vinyl. So you better be ready to go, bro. And that really pushed me. That professionalism from Mephistopheles really, really helped. The next tour with Mephistopheles was October, and we played with Suicide Machines. And Jay Navarro says, "Oh, Eric, I had met you once before. You played with Mephistopheles. That's great." He loves Mephistopheles. He gets along with them. They played all these shows in the past, and he goes, "What's your band called?" And I said, "Well, I don't really have one. I'm just a freelancer right now. Like, I don't have my own band." He said, he's like, our generation like is getting older. Like, we need the new era of bands and musicians. And he didn't necessarily say go start one, but like when he said that, I felt this desire. I moved to Portland the week after I got back. I packed everything into my car and I parked it in downtown. The first day I got here, I went to go see the band Dulu's opening for the Scatolites at Jack London, and that was like my first day in Portland. And I was like, I've made a good decision. I can just casually go see the Scatolites. This is where I should be. Fuck the Tri-Cities.
And you got to see the Bandaloos too. I love them,
Bandaloos
right?
are
Like
great.
they're so fucking great, bro.
Yeah,
Such
shout
a
out
good
to those
band.
guys.
For sure.
And then I moved out here and I wanted to start the band. I started finding some musicians, started playing some shows. We really got the ball rolling. And our first house show was July 2022. and we were on tour with Voodoo Glow Skulls and the Slackers December 2023. So 15 months, and we were on tour with some big boys, and we were ready to go, and it felt really good. And then the year after that, we did Mexico City. We got flown down and did a festival in Mexico City, and then that was the year that we did the Portland night with Bridge City Sinners. Shout out to them for inviting us for their big end of the year shows. So we got to play the Crystal Ballroom to a full house, and I still have people saying that they saw us for the first time there. That was a big part of it. But me playing in all these ska bands and like hearing all these musicians in the bands complain about ska, like I've been in bands where they're like, "Oh, that opening band," and like they never say anything bad about the people, but it's just like, dude, that music is, that's early '90s music. Like at this point, it's 30 years old. Like they just want something fresh. Because when bands like Rubik Fish, Mighty Boss Tones, when they were out there, they were the new kids on the block. And that's why it was so impactful, and that's why it was such a big scene. And I feel like ever since then, this has been kind of uh, a nostalgia factor. Where people want to like live that genre, and that's fine. That's why we still listen to 80s soul bands and like big band, and that's fine. But say what it is, you know. Don't be like, oh, we're creating a new sound, a new tone, a new thing. It's show your work, you know. And that's something that got really instilled in me. And I was a big fan of Mexican ska. I love hardcore. I love bands like Between the Buried and Me, Ocean's 8 Alaska. I would go see bands like The Fall of Troy, um, all like Russian Circles. I like that kind of progressive like metal kind of stuff as a saxophonist. And I always wanted to mix these kind of sounds together. And I was a big Streetlight Manifesto fan. You can see my flag back there. Because that power in the horn section, it really inspired me. So we did something about it. And My Love Lalas is that ska core sound talking about what's happening now, because music can talk about pizza day, like Aquabats, or it could document what's going on. And in our song Los Tenemos Rodeados, what I think it was Copy was talking about the rubber bullets and all that stuff. We took audio from a YouTube video of that, and it's in our song. And if you listen to the breakdown, it's happening. And when we tour the country, we go, hey, don't forget that American police officers, law enforcement, were opening fire on American citizens for exercising their First Amendment rights. Don't forget, because you guys are pretending like it didn't happen. We come from Portland. We were there. We talked to the people like you guys who witnessed all of it. You don't get to tell us it didn't happen. So when we tour, we remind people every single place we go. And then also the message being in Spanish, to me is important because have you guys ever heard how they say, oh, I don't like how this band's that political? People don't say that about us.
Yeah.
Want to know why? Because they don't speak Spanish. They don't understand me. And that's always been the point of Los Mal Hablados.
Fuck yeah.
Is that I will look you in your face and say, America's a white supremacist country. And people will be like, wow, this has a nice beat.
Word.
I fucking love it. I do got a question because one of my favorite Eric Molina moments is I was telling Joe this and Phil too. I'm scrolling through YouTube one day, right? Like just looking for a concert to watch and kind of as I clean the house, and I see Bad Manners live in New York. Cool. Fuck yeah. That's kind of what I want to listen to, it turns out. Hit fucking play, turn up the surround sound, go grab a bong hit for a minute, turn around, and who do I see there wearing gym shorts and a saxophone? Eric.
Hell yeah.
And so I call
Yes,
Phil, and I'm like, Phil, watch this video. Who wore gym shorts better, Fatty or Eric?
Let's go.
And he was like, what? And I sent him the link, and I hung up. And then he sent me back a text, Eric. What was
Hell
that?
yeah.
What was that like? How did that happen? And how dope is Fatty?
That's so the way it happened is I got to meet um, Deals. Deals is a saxophone player, lead singer. He's a big part of the Mexican ska community, and he's in the band Out of Control Army. That's his band. And Out of Control Army and him, they host a lot of shows, and he brings bands internationally to Mexico. So he's very connected to international spiderweb of ska bands. And he plays with Buster in Bad Manners. Him and the drummer and a couple other people. Um, and he knew me from previous things. So when Buster was coming to the States, Buster prefers working with Latino dudes just because they roll with the punches a little better. No one's gonna get offended. He can do all his crazy Buster shit, and we'll just kind of just do our thing, which is definitely how I roll. So I got recommended, and they sent me a YouTube link. No charts, nothing. Just a YouTube link of like an okay phone video of a show. And they said, learn every note off of this. This is the set. Okay. And I did the fucking homework. It's 26 songs. I'm over here learning Lip Up Fatty and Special Brew and Inner London Violence, just fucking grinding away. And that's how I got the gig. The first things Buster said to me was, don't you know how to use a mobile phone? I can't forget it. Because I was on stage playing that song, Hey, like the only song with horns that Suicide Machines has.
Yeah.
And since I know them, they're like, come play. I'm like, great. It's one song. It's like 2 minutes. During those 2 minutes, I guess Buster arrived and everyone blew my phone up. I had like 15 missed calls from like 10 numbers. So I grab my horn and I run over to the other spot, and he goes, do you know how to use a mobile phone? We've been calling you. And I'm just like, I was like, I'm here, Buster. I'm Eric. Nice to meet you. I'm your sax player for the rest of the week. Like,
Latino.
And
roll with the punches.
Yeah, and he was like, what were you doing? I was like, I was playing a song. He's like, and I've never heard anyone say this. He said, you're practicing other people's music? And I was like, and I look over at the organizer, Tim, from Supernova. Shout out to Supernova and Tim. And he gives me this look of like, have fun, bro. This is what you're getting in for. And like telepathically was just like, I believe in you. You got this shit, dude. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you got to go rehearse right now. And I'm like, okay, I got to get my stuff. He's like, oh, you got to get your stuff. He's out here just doing drugs in front of everybody. And everyone's just like, and they know I'm getting fed into the fucking like fire. They know I'm the tribute. So I'm just this kid, and they're like, Eric? Oh, fuck, Eric. Ooh.
The tribute, I love it.
Because I called all these other people to kind of see what Buster was like, and the average answer was like, wow, Eric, that's great. Well, okay, you need to hear a couple things. Like, everyone that was like, great. Wait, time out. Disclaimers. And a lot of people gave me a lot of experiences, and I got some insight, and I did the gig knowing, I like to vet when I play with new bands, and when I play with new bands, I also know to just keep my mouth shut and do my job, because that is kind of what some bands want you to do. And I think Buster knew that I was the assignment, and he kind of liked that. He was like, this guy's just here to play. I like that. But yeah, he like leaned into me, got to go get rehearsed. I go get my stuff. I come back. I get thrown in the van, and we get shipped off to another house in the area. I show up, and Buster's not at rehearsal. And I'm like, is he coming? They're like, no, he never rehearses with the band. Okay, so now I got to play these songs without any lyrics marking where I'm at. I'm like, okay, fuck. And it wasn't until the fourth song that I realized that they were putting the cell phone in front of me, recording every single track and sending it to Buster so he could tell me if it was correct or not. And they would make me redo it, and they said, can you just play as loud and as hard and as rowdy as possible? And I was like, yeah. And then when I did, they're like, that's it. That's the sound. And if you listen to those videos, I'm like playing so loud. I'm just like, trumpet player, fuck you. Trumpet player, fuck you. Like, that's what they wanted. Because normally in the music world, you have the higher voices up top, you have the middle voices, and you have the low voices. That's just music
Yeah.
That's universal music concept. So as a tenor sax player, I know my place. I'm in the middle. They said, no, stop playing like that. You're up top. So I said, all right, shit, hold my bong, like fuck it. I'm gonna play loud. I'm gonna play the way that I was told not to, and they loved it. And I was like, okay, great, this is cool. And he doesn't show up. Next day, he wants to rehearse again. So we rehearse all that night. We rehearse in the morning, and we're rehearsing up until about 4:30, and our set's at 7. So I miss all the bands. I'm getting in the van. I hear Voodoo Glow Skulls in the distance, and then Cherry Pop and Daddy's in the distance, and then Pie Tasters plays right before us. And I'm there. Steve Jackson, the singer of Pie Tasters, comes down. He goes, Eric, good luck, bro. It's your turn. And he passed me on the shoulder. And I was just like, fuck me, dude. I never played with Buster before. But then Buster comes over and he looks at all of us, and this is something he's been doing for a long time. It's part of his history, where they do this like like this like little ritual with their hand. I couldn't recreate it. I don't remember. Sorry, Buster. But the things he said to us, I would have jumped out of a plane right after that speech. I had never been more motivated in my life. And he was like, this isn't a concert. This is an exercise class. I want you to see you jumping. I want to see you smiling. I want to see you playing. And I was just like, yes, sir. I was just so fucking, And we went up there and like, holy shit, like that energy that he gives us before the sets. And he did it every night. Oh, wow. I'd always been around people that are like, all right, let's do our best we can. Let's go up there. No, dude, that's not how Buster rolls. Fuck the best you can. Play it right, motherfucker. And it was, yeah, you got that, yeah. And so working with him was really, really special. And then we played the set. I took a picture of the lights because they were so bright. I couldn't actually see anybody in the crowd. There was a few thousand people there, and it was great. The set was great. And he had me stand next to him. So when he did the can, he's a little older, so he puts his hand on my shoulder and he starts kicking. So I was just like, I'm playing bam, 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 bam. I'm looking to my right, and it's Buster just grabbing my shoulder, kicking away, and I'm just like, this is a fucking fever dream. Like, holy shit. Show's over. We're in the backstage. Everyone's gone. We're all hanging out, and I'm just excited. I got through it. The next show's Wednesday. That was Sunday. I got a couple days to breathe. I did it. And then I hear, Eric. And everyone goes, Eric. Dude, he's calling you over. And I'm like, and I sit down, and he goes, Eric, you played great. You had great energy. This is going to be a great week. Thanks for playing with us. And I was just like, I passed the test. And then it was a good week from there. But, that was the roller coaster of playing with Bad Manners and Buster. It was a lot of fun. And I've got a lot of experiences like that with different bands. Where
Did that help shape you? Because I feel like when I see Los Mal, you guys have so much energy. Like I feel like it's an exercise machine. You guys kick a crowd in the balls. It's great energy.
Well, the exercise class, but I also remember how I was talking about just the court case and all that stuff. How I said like it was just all adrenaline. It was like this fear, just all these different emotions. That feeling, whatever chemicals are coming out of people's brains, that's what I want people to feel during our set. I want people to feel, holy shit, I don't understand what's happening, but it's something big. And people can't look away. Sometimes we play shows where nobody claps because people are just staring at us.
I feel
no one's on their phone. No one's talking to their buddy. No one has their back turned to us. People will stare at us and then they go, oh, song's done. Play another one.
I see. I've noticed that you come out with
shocked.
I've noticed that you come out with like sunglasses and the bandana. Is that a character? Is he a revolutionary? Does he have a name?
No, it's more of I call since I've played with so many bands, I've seen so many approaches from like lead singers, and some notable ones: Steve Perry from Cherry Pop and Daddies, Angelo Moore, Fishbone, Andre from Mephistopheles, Buster. These are all people that I've got to work with, and who they are off stage and on stage, I get to see the difference, and I get to see what they're doing intentionally. Because sometimes they'll be up there doing stuff that I'm like, where did this come from? And I realize like, oh, this is part of his stage approach. And
Right.
the sunglasses, I played with sunglasses without sunglasses, and one of the reasons is I get really sweaty, and sometimes the lights are super bright and nice stages, so sweat in your eyes and the lights are bright, and I'm just looking like this, you know. But you put some sunglasses on, you're like, hell yeah, I'm cool, you know. And that was part of it. That was something I talked to Libby from Bridge City Sinners about. She's like, I honestly prefer having the visual like eye contact with my audience, but the way you do it, like I do it to kind of do this like unhinged like thing where like I talk like this off stage, but on stage I go super hard, and that's kind of what the sunglasses are. They're just to kind of like flip that switch and to go. The bandanas, the logo is teeth. Tripping.
Nice.
Sick.
So our bandana with our logo over our mouths, we come out unified. We come out looking, you know, like a team, but also like what were black bandanas in Portland being used for during the, you know what I mean? Like we
Right.
wanted to have a little nod there, but also we're a new band. How about $8 worth of production, guys? You know, like let's try it. And sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. We like to do it when we can really do the mystery of the set. We have like an electronic sounding intro. We come out all in bandanas, and that Crystal Ballroom show was the first show that we ever did in concert dressed black. We came out in black ties and slacks, and we all dressed nice to a room that mostly didn't know what we sounded like. Then it comes an electronic sounding drone. You're like, what's that? And then then all our songs are in drop D. There's some metal tuning. And then we start playing hard and heavy, and people go, what the fuck? I thought this band had horns. Like a couple months ago, we opened for Brujeria, that metal band from LA.
Yeah.
And it was at the high water mark. So the little merch table is in the room, in the crowd. And our merch person was like, oh, they're all talking shit. They're like, oh, why'd they get a fucking ska band to open for Brujeria? They put the metal band first? So I knew it was going to be like that. So we front loaded all our heavy shit. And that pit was rowdy. Brujeria loved us.
Nice.
So
Fucking awesome.
we got along super well, but then like we still played our ska stuff, but like it's distorted ska, you know, so it's not necessarily clean. You know, I always shit on Mighty Bosstones, mostly Dickie, because they have that
Everybody
album,
does.
ska-core, and I'm just like, just because you bought a distortion pedal doesn't mean that you're ska-core. You know, like do some breakdowns. Where's the China cymbals? Where's the fucking bass drops? What are you even tuning to? You know what I mean? Like, if you want to talk about core metal and hardcore, let's talk about it. You know, and but yeah, that's kind of like the sound, and then like talking about my perspective of being a white passing Mexican. From both my parents are from Mexico, and a lot of people in the U.S. go, "No, you must be half." Or Americans like talking about percentages, and it's fucking weird because no one else does in the world. When I was in Indonesia and I said I'm Mexican, they said, "Cool." Like they're like, we believe you. You know, like why would you lie about that? That's weird. It's only Americans that are like, I'm 1.5% this.
Well, Eric, speaking
weird, bro.
speaking of percentages, I always like to brag that I am 1.2% Eastern European princess.
There you go.
In my family, we are.
Luisa's
Like-
great grandma.
Great grandma was
Yes.
the princess of Czechoslovakia,
Yep.
Germany, and she was
That's in Prague, right?
yeah, it is,
Yeah,
and
cool,
she was
thought so.
imprisoned. Okay, and then she swam the Atlantic Ocean, all like swam it, and she came to El Salvador, and she met the Linka people, and they welcomed her in, and she banged my great grandpa because he had a thing for white women.
Oh, is that
And
how white people came to the Americas? They got welcomed in?
they were lovingly welcomed in, bro? We were like, "She
Oh,
fuckers,
wow.
come on in!" Like
I gotta throw away all my Thanksgiving books.
all of them, bro. We just welcomed them in with open arms. We were like,
Jesus
"This
Christ.
land is your land." You
But
know?
anyways, the lyrics are from the Mexican American perspective of like I speak both languages. When it comes to code switching, I can speak like I'm from the Pacific Northwest. O puedo hablar como que soy de la Ciudad de México. I can flip it on and off, and everything in between. You know, like I would meet like cholos, and they'd be like, "Who are you?" And I'll speak Spanish, and they'd be like, "Oh fuck, this dude speaks better Spanish than we do." Yeah, bro. Like, be nice to me. I'm here to hang out, just like the rest of you guys. I'm chilling. And they're like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I play music." And they're like, "This guy's cool." So like even being like a super nerdy dude, like being like, "Hey, I speak Spanish and I play saxophone." Even the hardest cholos are like, "Pass this man a blunt."
Hell yeah, because like I mean, everybody listens to music with saxophones, right? Like
Well, also just be
suavecito.
nice. If
Yeah.
you just know how to respect people that you're around, even cholos will be nice to you because
Absolutely.
you just have to be nice, bro.
So
It's-
like
it's
straight
not
up,
hard.
dude. I've said that shit 100 fucking times. Is that if you just
Don't
mind
stare.
your business, yeah, you mind your fucking business, and you don't be a cunt, you're pretty good pretty much anywhere. Like I grew up in the fucking barrio, dude. I grew up in San Pedro. You know what I mean? And it everybody thinks of San Pedro and like, oh, that's fucking wild town. I used to take the bus when I was in high school to go to surf team. I'd have to take the bus from San Pedro to Carson to Compton, and then from Compton to fucking Torrance. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, cool. I'd fucking be in Carson at fucking 5 o'clock in the morning to some tall, gangly fucking white kid with a surfboard. Nobody ever fucked with me because I didn't fuck with anybody.
Word. I didn't know you were on surf team. If that's not the whitest thing about you ever, fuck it, bro.
I was one of two people on a fucking 28-person fucking surf team.
Wait, hold up, stop. You
All right,
said
cheers.
you were right.
Cheers, bro.
Hold on, wait. You said you were one
Of two white people.
Oh,
Two
two
white
white
people.
People.
Okay, yeah, because you heard
On
what I
that
heard,
fucking
right,
team.
Copy? Because Copy heard what I heard, that you were one of two people on a 28 surf team.
I
Well,
was one of two white people
yeah,
on
you
that
can't
fucking
trust
surf
a
Oh.
team.
stoner.
He's not a stoner.
No, I'm talking about
Yeah.
us, fool.
I'm the only one that doesn't
Oh.
smoke weed here.
No, I was talking
So-
about us, fool.
Eric,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you're done
yeah.
choking,
We don't smoke weed here. We don't smoke weed here.
I don't know
how'd
what
you
you're
do that
talking
without
about.
dying? I would have coughed. So what's Los Mal
No, it's
have going
brutal.
on? What are you guys doing? Are you guys recording? Are you guys getting ready to tour? What are you guys doing for the winter?
Both. So last July, we were approached by a person I didn't know, and he said, "Are you Eric?" Yes. He said, "I'm Brian. I have an independent publishing company, like a independent label. And are you guys on a label? Are you guys signed?" And I said, "No." He said, "I want to help you make your first album." And I said, "Okay, we got a sound check in like 2 minutes." I didn't really know who this guy was, and I was like, "Come in for sound check, and then let's go get a meal and let's talk." And he was like, "Okay." He came in, and I said, "Hey, let's sound check on the new song, to show off to this guy." And we played it, and he was just back there like, "Fuck yeah!" And we sound checked. We went over like a block away, sat down, recorded the conversation. First thing he was like, "Do you guys have legal representation?" And at that point, we did, because our ex guitar player kind of went off the handle and tried to, throw the stick in the spokes, so to speak, when he got fired. But that didn't work out because you can't just do AI cease and desists. So we ended up finding out that it was AI, and we had a real lawyer. Thank you, Peter Shaver at Sound Advice in Portland, for representing us. And he checked everything out. He's like, "Yeah, you should work with this guy. It's legit." We came to terms. In March, we were in Jackpot Recording Studio. We laid down all the drums, and if you see the whiteboard behind me, you see all the like squares with X's. Those are all the like parts that are done. So like I would say we're like 70% done without. But like we're working on it daily. I have it up on the wall.
Is there a name?
And then, not yet. And
Okay.
we're gonna drop everything when it drops. So we're gonna keep it super low key. The one thing I will say is it's gonna be 13 songs.
Okay.
It's gonna be a nice full length. It's an independent label, so we're going to continue being independent with this help. The deal is for one album, so we aren't going to be tied to him past this album. And he's been great. We're working with the artist that did our original logo, and he's doing some hand done art. I don't want to spoil the surprise for the album cover, especially with all the digital bullshit that we're force fed in today's age.
Everywhere, bro.
We literally are
Everywhere.
gonna make this the most like DIY professional level thing that we can without, and the whole point of him producing the album is he's also going to help us with rolling it out and just giving us those strategies that he had. He used to work for Sony and Disney, in the publishing side of things. So he has a lot to say about how to get things published, and it's been great working with him. But coming from a dude who was running away from the cops to move into a new town, 0 to 100 really fast. So it's been really great. We're still finishing up the album right now. We're working with an engineer named Curtis Irie. He was a bass player in Bandulas for a while. He just recorded the last new tracks that the week before the Slackers played that we supported that show. They recorded with him. So
Okay. When they were here from Portland, they were here for.
They were at Hallowed Halls, the
Yeah.
recording studio in Southeast, and that's a great place. And then we got invited to go play at the after party at Supernova. The after parties are like after the festival shuts down around 10, they do late night shows. So we're doing the Sunday show. Us, Omnigon, and Chair, some good bands in the scene of the newer generation. And we fly out on the 2nd, so September 3rd through the 13th, we have shows pretty much every single day. I think there's only 1 or 2 days that don't have shows. And we're going to play in Pennsylvania, in Virginia, in New Jersey, in New York, in Massachusetts, I think there's a bunch of different PA shows, but we're staying in that kind of area.
I told my uncle Linval, my uncle Linval, boys, to try and catch your set at Supernova. He's gonna try and be there with the Agro Lights.
We've met before. Whether he remembers me or not is another story, but we've met a couple times.
And I'm really jealous because Derek Morgan's playing probably one of his last sets. So you're going to be there in time to see that? Are you going to be there for the whole festival?
If he's closing Sunday night, we might have to go sound check around that time.
Mm-hmm.
But we plan on being there at Supernova during the day. Like, we didn't plan another Saturday show. We're going to be at Supernova just because I've done Supernova, I think 4 times now, but my band hasn't. And only a couple of the guys got to participate. If you see this yellow flyer behind me, that's the Supernova 2024. So it's good to come back a couple years later. But yeah, no, we're going to be there and just try to start touring more often now that we have a touring-minded lineup. We had a couple, like I said, we had a couple people coming in and out of the band, but now we have, a stronger guitar player, stronger drummer, stronger everything, but actually with the mindset to go on tour, because just being a good player isn't enough. Because if you're a good player and you're like, hey, I also don't want to tour, and the band is doing well, there's something that has to happen. Either you give it a shot or you just pass the torch to someone who wants it. Because we went from a backyard band to a touring band to now we have someone who wants to produce us, and we've been working with Crawl Space Booking. Jay Crash is our booking agent. So the whole concept of one day when we have a booking agent, one day when we have XYZ, that day was yesterday for us, and it's go time for us. So it feels really nice to have the crew, Brantley Bacon on drums, Bobby Metter on guitar. We have John England Fisher on trumpet, Stephen Eaton on trombone. Eric Beam joins us sometimes on the trumpet as well. And we have Dylan Valentine, who's passing the torch off to Luke Lindell on bass, because he also making a decision about, how much he wants to travel and all that stuff. It's a reality of being a touring band. And
Absolutely.
We were just some dudes jamming in a basement, just a couple years ago. So now that it's become a thing, we gotta do what we gotta do to push the band forward, because that was always the game plan, right? That's something that everyone would agree on, whether they like the plan or not. We all wanted to move it forward. Um, but yeah, representing Portland is in the ska scene too. Like, how many other Portland ska bands are there? There's not a lot, and the ones that are out here, we're very tight with. Bands like Cascadians,
Shout out.
Skylarkers,
Shout
yeah,
out.
all these homies, Bandulus. We're out
Shout out.
here. Leader just moved to New York, so I think they're going to be kind of a split internet or national band. I don't know what their plan is, but still shout out to Bandulus.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that once this record drops, could you possibly want to come back on and do another
Yeah,
sketch
man.
with us?
We would
Yeah.
love to
we're
have
working
you.
on doing a lot of different press for the album, and yeah, that would be a great idea.
Fuck yeah.
Oh
Yeah, hell yeah.
So with that, Eric, we should probably wrap it up. We're pushing close to 2 hours here on this episode.
We got carried away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good, man. This is fucking
Yeah.
great stories. I
Yeah,
really
fuck
enjoyed listening to your story, especially in the beginning there, dealing with the police, and then the stories about music and all that shit. It's all the music stories. Always warms my heart. I'm a musician as well. I've been in 2 bands that were signed and like put out records and went on tour and did all that kind of shit. And it's always fun to go back and listen to other people who are doing it, especially when they're first starting to experience it with their band. You know what I mean? Like, you've played a bunch of professional gigs with guys and this, that, and the other. And this is different. This is something that you built. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a
Feels way
completely different feeling for sure. But yeah, man. So like with that, I think a closing question that I would have for you, being that you came from the Tri-Cities, which doesn't really have a punk rock scene, a ska scene, that kind of shit. What would be your advice to kids that may be listening? And when I say kids, obviously I mean teenagers, young people, listening that may feel out of place where they're at. And, they're into the punk rock, but their area just ain't it.
You wouldn't move to Juneau, Alaska to become a country star. You wouldn't move to Moscow, Russia to play cumbia. You wouldn't move to Africa to play K-pop. Go find your people, find your band, and when you find those people, there's a 1% chance that they're going to stick with you. So keep finding more people.
Word.
Because that's natural. There's a lot of different people out here, and it's if you think finding like a girlfriend or partner is hard, imagine finding 6 of them. It's fucking hard, dude. And like getting everyone together, it's like dating it's like a poly relationship, but all at once. And then like it's complicated. But find your people. They're out there. If you haven't found them, it's just because you haven't found them yet. If you need help looking for people, go to shows, and especially shows that are proudly standing for things that shouldn't be political statements. Being anti-racist is not a political statement. Being anti-fascist is not a political statement. When I toured Europe, every single venue I was in, no matter how nice or like fancy it was, had an anti-fascist flag in a different
Fucking
language in
A.
every single fucking part of all of Europe, because they know what happens if we don't do something about it. But just be part of the solution, and try to do your part, and you will find those people. And I found those people going to shows, and those are the people who like said, "Hey, we'll help you, we'll help you," and that's been able to give myself, everything I needed to start my own project, and it's all thanks to the community. And when people talk about the music scene, you talked about how there's not much of a scene in Tri-Cities, all this stuff. The problem in Tri-Cities is people think that being the music scene is the musicians. The scene is the musicians and the public that comes and contributes to the community. You can't just play in an empty room and be like, I am part of the scene. You have to have some sort of community. Even if it's like 10 people, bro. Just find your community, do your part for your community, be good, make music, fuck bullies. Thanks for having me on, guys.
There we go. Thanks for listening to this one, everybody. Eric, thank you so much for coming on with us. Everybody listening, that was Eric Molina from Los Mal Hablados. They got a record coming out soon. Go check that shit out. They're dope as fuck. This is Hold Your Ground. Deuces.